Let's talk about your area of strength, or presumably so. Out of court settlement. Why is it very important to be able to do out of court settlement?
Why is it very important?
Or why would you advise somebody to go for that?
There are many reasons why I'd advise somebody to go for out of court settlements. And specifically right now, the courts are clogged. Sometimes if you go to court now, the earliest date you'll get maybe is a year or so later, depending. Many times you find the cases in court are spending an average of 3 to 5 years, sometimes more than that.
Yeah.
Yes. And unfortunately, for example, if a succession matter is in court, a succession is whereby somebody has died.
Yeah.
If it's in court for 10 years, for 5 years, you find the family cannot move. You see? And you see the judge, when everything is being presented, they have to look at the evidence, they have to look at everything to really make sure they give a judgment that is correct. And you'll find people are always postponing adjournments and all that. And because of that, you find matters going on to 5 to 10 years. So what happens when it is you who knows it's your dad who died and you need fees to pay for maybe one of the younger brothers, and another brother is now disturbing and all that? Or another company has come into play making these claims. And as long as it's going on and there is a dispute, then it can't be sorted. But if we can sit down and agree, yes, because you know what I've realized many times is that when people are getting into transactions, there is the intent, the intention of what you want to do. But many times, unfortunately, the intention is not well reflected in the contract, because maybe you're doing it too fast or something like that. But you see, once something is written down, you cannot start saying, I meant this, and yet it's already in court. Yeah. So because of that, you find there are issues that are actually best settled out of court, because a contract might have been poorly drafted. Or the scenario, if you really follow the law, you find there is somebody who is going to really miss out. We always say the law is an yes, yeah? Because the law reaches a place and becomes stiff, there has to be evidence and all that. However, when we come to out-of-court settlement, and here I'm talking of mediation, which there's first negotiation and mediation. The mediation now, we move away from legalese as is to the interests of the parties. And the easiest example we usually give, for example, is just like an orange. You may find these two boys are fighting for an orange, or these two sisters are fighting for an orange. Yes, and nothing is moving on because of this orange. There's only one orange, and one wants one, another wants the other. But then when you sit them down, you learn that one wants the juice because she's thirsty, she likes good juice. The other one maybe wants the peels so that she can bake a cake.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Now you see, when you go to court, you cannot, you don't have the luxury of getting into that. But when it's in a mediation, for example, you get to find out from these parties before you, what exactly do they want? Yes? Yeah. And once you have dealt with what they want, what their interests are, then you find it's good to go and everybody's happy. The cases are different and they keep varying as you move from one place to the other. You can find what is being presented before court is just a cover-up of the underlying issues.
Yeah.
And many times, once the underlying issues are sorted, then you find everybody's happy and it becomes a win-win for the parties. Once you go to court and a judgment is given, many times, unfortunately, court is like we have fought and there has to be a winner and a loser. You see, and the winner takes it all. Yes. You see, and many times after court, these people don't even want to look at each other. And sometimes it's a family.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a family, and even if it's a commercial contract, by the time you started, you're friends. So why should you be enemies now? And for you to have started that business, there's something you must have been doing well at some point.
Yes.
So we ADR practitioners look at it that being a win-win, this is the best way to look at it to start off and see if we can also salvage the now threatened relationship. Because sometimes somebody just wants a certain part of it. You know, you're going to court because you're saying this person has not delivered, but has not delivered to what extent? What is it that you want out of it? And a mediation forum, for example, allows you now to look into that, putting the law aside for now, putting the contract aside, because maybe when you put the contract, you did not foresee this scenario.
Yeah.
Yes. And maybe as at that time, as you're saying, maybe by the time you're getting into the contract, you could easily, if you are able, if a call was called, put in $1 million. And that time you said, everybody, in case of anything, we want $1 million within 2 weeks. But things have changed. And you find, you said you wanted $1 million, somebody can give in 10, but you even put that contract, you cannot even raise 100,000.
Yeah.
Are you saying?
That's right.
And while you might not be able to raise 100,000, you are the one working back. You are the one putting in so many hours into this business, which now you cannot be able to quantify and such. So going to court, what was written down? You see, it did not allow for the hours being put in and all that. So sometimes it becomes very, very tricky when you're dealing in court as compared to mediation.
Yeah.
Mediation, and the beauty again is that you have to go through the court's calendar. Like, for example, today we had a matter and we were being told the earliest we can be before court again is 8th December. And we were there maybe 3 months again. We have to go by the court calendar.
Yeah.
Because there are many other matters. But when you're dealing with mediation and ADR, for example, we deal with our diaries as the parties. What works well for me as a mediator, what works well for me as an arbitrator and the parties. So you'll find that it tends now to take much shorter. It tends to take much shorter. You may find, yes, you are paying more sometimes at the arbitrator or the mediator, but what is it saving you? You may pay me maybe $1 million shillings today, and we are able to resolve the matter within 6 months. Yes, but you may go to court and maybe pay 200,000, but you don't finish the matter until 5 years. And you see so much capital is being laid in that project and you cannot move on. So those are the angles that you look at. It's win-win for all the parties when it's an ADR, alternative dispute resolution. And apart from that, again, there's the element of confidentiality. When it's mediation, the matter does not go to the public or until the parties agree otherwise, so it remains there. When it's arbitration, again, the matter does not go to the public. All the sessions we just have with the parties. Anything that will live there will only be their word. That is not what will be recorded in court. But how we shall fight, how we shall agree, the nitty-gritty remains here, as opposed to when now you're in court. You see, when you're in court, there are the cameramen and all that going on, and sometimes it gets very unfortunate. So for me, that is why I'd always advocate for ADR before you go to court. And of course, there are matters that cannot be settled in ADR, criminal matters, frauds and all that. Now, those are the ones that now we cannot deal with them in mediation. Those ones are properly dealt with before court. Unfortunately, sometimes I feel like we end up taking so many matters to court, yet we could just sit and agree. Yes, because even in that court, hata kama ni mwizi wa kuku, a chicken, the judge has to listen, you see. But if we are here, then we can agree. And that times I've seen, unfortunately in court, even the fine that is being meted out is much higher than the conflict we are having here. Yes. You might just have disagreed over 3,000 or 10,000 shillings, and you're insisting on going to court, taking so much time. Now what you have to pay in fines and all that sometimes now are explosive. Yes.